Hello. With regard to KM research, there's a lot of work on the analyzing, for example, the knowledge management performance and also organizational measurements and performance as well. Now, the individuals and teams are obviously great assets in the organization. When coming to this part of the research, I have Dr. Tracy Zhao with me today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Right, Dr. Zhao has done a piece of research, great research, as part of her doctorate on analyzing the team performance in organization and also the measurement. So allow me to ask her about why is it important for organizations to to measure team performance, and what are they doing up to now?
I think teams are very important because they are the units that carry out important work for organizations. Compared to individuals, the team has much more impact on the organization's productivity and outcomes.
Right, wonderful. Well, I know your research is the focusing on how to understand about how team perform by going into first studying about how team think, right? What exactly have you done in order to facilitate this piece of research?
Well, that's a good question. How team thinks, I study from a knowledge perspective. It sounds a bit challenging, but actually there is a term to describe this. It's called team mental model. It is actually qualitative representation of the team tasks, its environment, team attitudes, all the related elements shared by team members. So it's very difficult and challenging to look into how team thinks. Previous research have done something like similarity rating, concept mapping, but they tend to result in some abstract concepts and abstract relationships and that are not so related to the actual practices of the organization. So I propose a narrative simulation approach, trying to get teams tell stories and generate sense-making items. Sense-making items are the phrases or the words that team members make sense of their stories. So once I got the stories, I got the sense-making items, I asked the team member to rate to what extent the stories are related to the sense-making items. So all these ratings and the relationships come together to be a visualization of the team mental model. This visualization consists of two layers of information. One is the story itself. The other is the sense-making categories and their interrelationship. So this is a very rich result that can provide us information about how team thinks.
Wow, very enriching. If I hear correctly, mental models, team mental models, sense-making, storytelling, ratings, and more, relationships and visualization. Well, you ought to tell us more about what exactly were your findings and how are they significant to organizations?
Once we have this tool to understand how team thinks, we can look at how high-performance team thinks and how average team thinks. So say if I can find the differences between these two teams' thinking, I can do something about it. For example, one of my findings is to reveal that high-performance teams have a more comprehensive team mental model. They cater for many aspects of the team, including technical aspects, the interrelationship among team members, and how to communicate with outsiders, while average teams tend to focus internally on their technical matters or some of the internal issues without a wider perspective. So I think this is a very interesting finding. Another related finding is that even very high-performance teams can show some of biased understanding about the key concept of their project. So again, this information is fed to the management and they can provide training or help the team to develop a better flow.
Wonderful. I think comes to the highlights of this interview. Now, obviously, not all performance teams are high performance, right? So, please tell us more about, in addition to what you just said, how can organizations organize and breed higher and higher performance teams as a benefit to what you have done in your research?
I hope I can contribute to that. So previously, if organization only looks at teams' outputs and only looks at their process, they miss an important piece of information. That is how team thinks. Now we have this tool, so they can be used to diagnose if the teams have any blind spots or have missed something. So when management decides which team is going to take which kind of tasks, they can firstly look at the team mental model. And once the team has taken on the task, they can further look at the mental model to see if there are anything the organization can provide or help to facilitate these teams to perform better.
Wonderful. Well, I think everyone expects me to ask the next question. Where can I find out to read more and learn more about this model or these approaches and things like that?
I think of course we have publications on that, but I would also suggest some future directions. Currently, my research relies a lot on textual information, storytelling, sense-making items. Basically, they are texts. But I can say the current trend is multimedia items and other visual tools may be helpful. So I would suggest future researchers to make use of the other visual tools in eliciting team mental models, especially for those creative team, multimedia design team, or product development team. Maybe the visual tools can be of more help and can dig deeper into team mental models.
So, wonderful. I suppose you will leave us some pointers to further reading in this area. Is that right?
Yes, I will. I'm happy to.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Zhao, for coming in and record this interview with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.